Hello and welcome to another edition of the C Squared podcast. I'm Curtis and I'm here with my co-host Holly Royal, who is dressed up as a very spooky executioner today in celebration of Halloween. And today we are going to be talking about a topic that is very near and dear to both of our hearts, which is the topic of how to make sure that you promote yourself well during a busy season. So as everybody knows, October and November are generally the busiest times of year for promoting your album because everybody and their dog releases something. So Holly, you've been doing this for 2 years, 3 years, something like that. For anybody, Holly is the head of DV8 PR, but she's basically a C Squared staffer right now. So she's the head, that's quote, of DV8 PR. And Holly's getting mad at me already. So when you've done campaigns in the past as a starter, what have you noticed happens in October, November?
It can be significantly harder to get placements, partly because, just everyone's releasing at the same time. So the blogs and the journalists, they tend to gravitate towards, either the bigger bands or the bands that maybe they already know, things like that. So it can be much harder to get things that at other times of year might be really easy to get. Okay. I say sort of. It depends. That's just from my own experience. There are a couple of blogs, for example, where like 9 times out of 10, they would usually post something I sent to them. And then I noticed that suddenly gets much harder at this time of year.
100%. Yep.
So.
Okay, so you have, just to clarify, have you done many campaigns in October, November prior to C Squared? It was just a couple or a lot?
I've done a few.
Okay, cool. Are you willing to say if it was significantly less when you did the campaigns in October and November?
And so it's slightly hard to judge because some of the bands were very different genres.
Fair.
So I can't necessarily compare them, but I did notice it wasn't a huge amount less, but it was less than I would have expected. So this is part of the reason why never make promises of placements, because if it doesn't happen.
Well, that's, I think, a key point just right off the bat. Well, actually, just right before we got on the call, I actually just had someone ask me, what can you guarantee in terms of placements and press? And I was like, you can't. And just as an aside, any PR company that guarantees you press is lying. I just want to say that right. But that being said, all PR companies should be able to get you some press and some decent press as well if you're paying them money. But okay, so let's go back to what we were talking about. So in October and November, a lot of people release, especially during Halloween, Black Friday. I don't think they have that in the UK. Sure.
We sort of have Black Friday, but it never really caught on. So it's not the same as you guys have it.
Well, we didn't really have it in Canada until about 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't really a big thing. It's an American thing that kind of crossed over with the chains and we're doing it over here. But it wasn't ever a big deal when I was growing up. But so for anybody who's not in North America, Black Friday is basically the day after American Thanksgiving, where they have all these sales. So everyone and their dog likes to release that day. Everybody and their dog likes to release on Halloween. So if you're a newer band and you're planning on releasing either those 2 weeks, you're going to have a lot of trouble getting your press. So you should always try to do it a little bit before or a little bit after in each case. So that being said, so when we're talking about coverage and stuff and things being a lot less, now what I do is when we get clients that are releasing around this time, what I start pushing heavily for is interviews, news items, as my first 2 things. Now, how do I want to phrase this, Holly, without us sounding like a couple of idiots here? So, Holly, how would you pitch a new band to a publication when it's October? Like, what is the Holly Royal strategy? And then I want to go over the Curtis Dewar strategy.
Okay. Well, it depends on several things. So, for example, blogs which are maybe the right genre, or maybe who focus more on underground bands, things like that, I would definitely go for anyway, because I think they're slightly more likely to pick them up in general, or they might just be slightly more interested. I would try some of the bigger blogs because I think it's worth trying, but I probably, I'm not going to spend hours and hours chasing after a huge blog when I know that they've got so many people throwing stuff at them. So it would be a better use of my time to, like you say, try and get interviews or news features or things like that, because then at least you're reaching, hopefully reaching a wider audience. So, but yeah, like you say, sort of more news items and interviews, because reviews can be harder to get anyway.
Yeah.
Just because they are so time consuming.
Yeah, and then you can, like, track streams are pretty easy to get most of the time.
Yeah.
The only problem is, like, with October, November type time, what happens is that a lot of the blogs get booked up pretty quick. So, and if you're going to release in October or November, you want to start early.
Yeah.
A good example of this, I want to give a success story of a client of ours. You want to hear the success? So we have a client called Lutharo who just released last week. I think it was last week or the week before. Last week, yep. They released their new album, and they're an independent band, but we still got them basically everywhere. They got Blabbermouth, they got Decibel, they got No Clean Singing. Like, we just blanketed them everywhere. Now, most bands who are independent who would release on the date that they did, October 15th, wouldn't have gotten much press, but we got them, I think it was like 120 placements or something silly like that. It was insane what we got them. Now, part of the thing though is that we started that campaign for October back at the end of May.
Yeah, they were one of the first bands that, like, I started doing PR for. Yes. That's how early it was.
So we did it early with them. We started early, and then we pitched for the full album premiere in May for Decibel, got that locked down, so we knew we had that automatically. So yeah, we started really early on that. So that was May. How many months is it? June, July, August, September. That was almost 5 months we did. Yeah. So it was a long campaign, but it gave them time to get there. And we also got them a lot of print coverage. They got Power Play magazine, they got Scream magazine. They got more, and I'm blanking right now, but we got like 120 placements or something like that. So lesson on that is, if you start early, you can still do well. Another good example is our clients in Scattered Hamlet, who also are doing quite well with their campaign, who started, I think it was end of August, something like that. So if you kind of have a little bit of lead up, it should work. But if you try to release an album with only a month PR when you're releasing in October and November, it's probably just going to go nowhere. So now, did you have a thought you wanted to add to that, Holly?
Yeah, I guess sort of continuing what you're saying about, being as organized as you can before you're even starting a PR campaign. Just because, I mean, obviously I know when people are new to it, they don't necessarily know what they need, but it's kind of the earlier you have everything, the better, basically.
Well, let's go over that really quickly here. I know we're kind of going off topic and going on a little bit of a tangent, but we might as well just do it. Okay, so explain what you mean by organized.
So for example, if you can have all of the music, fully mixed and mastered, the final files, final artwork, the final promo photos, all of the info for a bio, so that, whoever it is can write you a proper bio as soon as possible. Because as soon as everything's ready, it can be sent out, but we can't send anything out until we've got those things. And there are, cases of bands just, things happen and life gets in the way, but sometimes you're losing weeks just waiting for high quality artwork. And it's time that you need for PR, really. It's a bit frustrating.
I could tell you look like you're gonna
it bothers me.
I can see that. You do look like the executioner for real now, right now.
I need a scythe or something. I need like a scythe or the thing that the Grim Reaper has, a scythe.
Oh, scythe. Oh, this the accent that's throwing me off.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. My isn't very good today. Yeah, you do need a scythe.
We've gone a very long time understanding each other, so something that's wrong.
Yeah, I know that's kind of weird. I've been talking to you for months, and now I'm just finally not understanding something. That's really weird. Where was I going with this? So yeah, organization. So the other thing too is, if you kind of have an idea of different assets you want to release, that's helpful too, and kind of goes along with what you're saying. So like, for example, if you could do some like audio clips, or you could do teasers or something like that, have that all organized out, and that can help blanket the press as well with different things. You don't spam people, but if you are releasing, for example, a trailer, you could still get a press release done about it. You can ask places to post it, and that can get you a ton of press too. The key thing is, like, if you're not getting any traction, one thing that's really easy to place is news items. Like, really fucking easy to place. Most people will place a news item. Yes, half the time it's a copy paste job, but at the same time, it gets the name out there, it gets people checking out your video or your song or whatever the heck it is. So don't overlook that. And also, the more journalists see your name, the more they're going to want to look at your promo, and the more they're going to want to talk about you. Can you talk about that for a second, Miss Journalist Holly Royal?
It is a thing. There's a bit of a sort of psychology to it. The more you see someone's name, or a band name, or a band image, or a logo, or something like that, the more we're going to remember them, and the more people are going to be, they're going to stop and look at the promo, and then actually either give you a feature or an interview or even a review or something like that. So a lot of it is just getting everything out there as much as possible. So again, this is where it comes with the earlier you start, the more time you have to put stuff in front of people.
100%. And a good example of this was Holly herself, because she is probably the best known member of Disconnected Souls, even though she's not the front person, because she pushes herself. She's always out there on social media, plus she's a publicist, and she talks to people quite a bit. So you are a prime example, because I'll bet you almost nobody could name anybody in that band other than you.
Probably not.
Just saying, even though in a lot of the places, you are known as Disconnected Souls, which is kind of an interesting thing. Another example of someone who pushes themselves all over the place, who's really good with this, I think, at least in my opinion, is Francis from Old Man Wizard.
Yeah, I always see him on social media. He's always popping up on my feed.
That's because he's a popper. He
I know he does. He just appears.
He does a lot of things, and he'll talk to people about random stuff, and he has his fingers in a lot of pies with Dungeon Synth, and then he also does Old Man Wizard, and he has King Gorm, and what else does he have? He does his YouTube channel about different things, and yeah, so he's really, really good at this as well. What's the next part we want to talk about, Holly? You're in charge now.
Have we sort of covered the placement issue? We probably have, haven't we?
Not really.
Not really.
Let's talk. Go ahead. Placements.
Okay. So yeah, well, as I was saying, the main thing to do is that we'll try and get you as many like news features and interviews and things if reviews are a little bit sparse. Because the thing as well is we can chase up those post-release date. This is another thing to bear in mind, I guess, choosing release dates, because news gets old real fast.
Yep, it does.
So time is against us in that respect as well. So yeah, again, and so I guess another way actually to try and combat that is if you're releasing a video post the release date for the album, or doing like a playthrough video or something like that, that then gives us something else we can send out as a news item.
Yep.
So that's worth bearing in mind.
And as well, it's one of the easiest things for us to get, because all we got to do, a lot of places, like I said, if we just ask them to post a news item, they will do it. Most PRs will not just go and chase up news item coverage, but we have done it. I did it myself last week with a certain client that wanted to get the news posted just like everywhere. It's super easy to do. If you just ask people to post a press release, they'll do it. Yes, it isn't the best thing to get posted necessarily, but the good thing is that it can drive traffic to your video or your song or whatever. And personally, a lot of times that's more valuable than getting a review. That's the way I look at it. What else do we want to talk about? So interviews. Let's talk about interviews for a second here. So interviews can be both hard and easy to get, depending on the type of interview. But most of the time, you can usually get a fair number of interviews if you just ask. So like, for example, if you're an independent band and you don't have a PR, go and look for the different sites that do a lot of interviews. And those are the people that you want to hit up first. And obviously in your genre. So like, for example, if you play doom metal, look at the different doom sites. There's like a zillion different doom sites out there. If you play black metal, same thing. But there's almost always a way to get an interview done. And if you can't locate someone to give you an interview, and again, we're talking about without having a PR right now, if you can't find anybody to get an interview, what you could also do is you could also ask someone to do another band to do an interview with you on a live stream on Instagram. For example, that's how James Delbridge started getting interviews for himself. And that's what Gaia did last year as well, or the year before. Yeah, last year she started doing interviews with people just as a way of getting herself a little bit better known. You got any other tips on that, Holly?
Yeah, this kind of leads into, I guess, what I was thinking about, like things that bands can be doing outside of or alongside a PR campaign when it's really busy. And it's all about, like you say, interacting with other people and other bands in particular. Because then you can almost merge your fan bases a little bit, so it can be beneficial to everyone involved.
100%.
So yeah, live streams on Instagram seem to work really well. A lot of people are doing Twitch. Again, that seems to work for some people. Things like that. Creating like Spotify playlists with loads of other bands that you like and you listen to, and tag them. And then you get shared and people find you from it. So there's all these little things that you can be doing, which, I mean, if you're doing a PR campaign, I think you should be doing them anyway.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Cool.
They can work sort of standalone as well. Yeah.
I think it all can come together, like if you do it properly. Cool. I think we're almost out of time, Holly. Do we have anything else we want to discuss on this?
I think we've covered quite a lot, because I guess the main thing is just sort of being aware of that it's a busy time and therefore preparing for it, because the better prepared you are, then the more successful it will be.
I agree. Now, before we end off, I do want to say that Holly has a special for bios this month. Until October 31st, she will write your bio. We're charging it 15% off. She's written for people like Lindsay Schoolcraft, Sarah Jezebel Diva, Lutharo, Kasem, Joan Avant, a zillion other people who I'm blanking on right now, but Holly has written for a lot of people. Lindsay has tooted her horn numerous times about what a great job she did for Antiqua and for herself. So if you're interested, DM me. We'll go over prices with you, and we'll get you set up with Holly. Holly usually takes about 3 to 4 days to write a bio, depending upon her workload. Sometimes it can be a little bit longer, sometimes it can be a bit shorter. But what'll happen is we'll send you a little form. You'll fill it out. And that'll give Holly all the information she needs, and she's going to write your kick-ass bio if you get in touch with us. And we have one final thing, Holly. Do you know what it is?
Is it the 10-day challenge?
Yes. Can you talk about that for a brief second? I'm going to put you on the spot. You get to do this advertisement.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it is starting on Monday, isn't it? I suddenly realized. Yeah. So Monday, 25th of October, we are starting a 10-day sales challenge. So it's basically giving you marketing skills across social media, across like sort of websites, mailing lists, all these sorts of things to help you push and increase your sales. So yes, it's pay what you want. Yes. So you can pay us as much. So if you want to pay us 10 grand, please do. But also, if you're broke and you can't afford anything, that's fine.
Good, Holly. So, last thing I want to mention too, it's mainly taught by me, but one day is going to be taught by Holly, one day is going to be taught by Aaliyah, and one day is also going to be taught by Gaia. It's going to be a lot of fun. And you can sign up. I think the link is going to be below this podcast. So just click the link. And if it's not there, and I forgot for some reason, make sure you check the link in the bio on Instagram and you'll find it there. Other than that, Holly, do you have any final words before we end off?
No, I'm done.
Cool. And if you're only listening to this podcast, go to YouTube, watch it, because Holly is in an execution costume today, and it's hilarious to see. Anyways, with that, we're done.